Katherine is the SVP of People at Coterie. Type in the chat if you either use Coterie diapers or aspire to use Coterie diapers. We are a Coterie family. They're the best. We never have diaper rash. I could be in a commercial for Coterie. It's just the best diapers ever. We just got the swimmers, which are amazing because Gigi kept pooping in her bikini. And now we got the swimmers, and it's great. And Katherine, as you all heard, is also a mom to 3 boys, 2 of whom are twins. Like, that just blows my mind. Katherine also went to college with my brother, which surviving that is something to celebrate. Katherine's husband and my brother were college roommates. So I love Katherine and excited to learn more from you. We're going to start this little activity where you see some questions, but please type in the chat if you have other questions, and we'll have just a little chat for the next 15 minutes. Okay, tell us about your path to becoming a mother. How did you end up with 3 boys? And also to becoming a VP of People.
Yes, all good questions. So I'll start with the mother first. Obviously, like you said, I actually met my husband at Colgate in college. So we were together for a long time. I always wanted kids. I actually always said I wanted 4 kids. I now want 3, which is what I have. I'm very, very happy with that. I will say really quickly, twins run in my family. I am a twin, and they really haven't skipped generations. So I did feel very strongly that at some point I would have twins. But in any case, for me, I was with my husband for a while. Obviously, like, we really, really wanted children. We had our first son, George, and then a few years later, wanted some separation, but did want the kids kind of close in age. And so then had the twins, and we completed our family. I think I was lucky. I had good pregnancies, but still a twin pregnancy. I don't think there were any other twin actual parents we at least met. But again, mine was good, but still, it's 2 babies, 7+ pounds each. It's like, come on, like it's a little bit much. So yeah, that's where we're at now. Like I said, so I have George, who's 5.5, and then I have the twins who are 3. They turned 3 in April. So it's definitely busy. It's hectic. I actually took the twins to. This was crazy. I took them to the dentist and the doctor this morning. It was like a double whammy appointment just to like get it done.
Wow.
So it was just, because we missed their 3-year. But so yeah, that's where we're at now. And now I'm here.
And then professionally, how did you become a VP of People?
Yeah, so I initially, to go through it really quickly, had thought I wanted to be a lawyer. That was kind of after college, is what I thought I wanted to do. And I did work at a law firm for a period of time, which was great. It was actually white collar criminal defense. So I found it very, very interesting. And I was there for 3+ years. Discovered I did not want to be a lawyer ultimately. But I think what really connected me was when I was at that law firm, it was, even though it was white collar criminal defense, like my bosses and the people I worked with, I was very, very close with. But it really got down to how you treat humans, like truly. So my experience, not even from a legal perspective, was super helpful in the people HR world. But, you were dealing with these high stress moments. Like, I worked with men, actually, mostly men, just for the cases I was on, that were going to go to jail, or we're going to have, something was going to happen. And that's a very, no matter what, your feelings are, like, that's a very like intense, just moment, right? And it's a lot to go through. And then again, also some, obviously, people, we represented and were not guilty, and we did that. But I think being able to see that like deep human connection and having people that you work with, like these lawyers who had these very, very difficult conversations, but you could still be nice and human about it. And I think I really, really took that in terms of like how I wanted to work and what I wanted work to feel like. And that led me to, I worked at it was a restaurant group actually, but if anyone's familiar with Shake Shack, so Danny Meyer, the founder of Shake Shack, he had a lot of other restaurants in New York. He wrote this book called Setting the Table. And so really I ended up working for Danny's restaurant group, but it was an organizational consulting sort of branch of that, where we taught his book. And so that's really where I got my foundation in creating great workplaces, ultimately. So it wasn't really a traditional HR background, but I really got a lot of operational experience and a lot of that organizational design experience working with a ton of different companies, because I was a consultant. So I worked with companies. I worked with like Cedar Sinai, I worked with hospitals, I worked with Sotheby's, Delta Airlines, like all different
Interesting.
types of companies. And so then kind of went from being a consultant to going in-house and really
Mhm,
like focusing and becoming ahead of people.
mhm, mhm.
I created creative agency first and then moving on. So my background isn't like super linear,
Yeah,
but I love it. I love that I got the experience at the law firm. It truly helps me all the time. And
yeah,
then just kind of growing on that and getting that operational experience. So, but
yeah,
ultimately, I think I have this deep care for um, creating places where people want to come to work.
yeah.
And it doesn't mean just like, oh, we're going to pay people ridiculously, but
Right,
it's like, what does that feel like? And what's
right.
appropriate to this company? And at Coterie, where I am now, for me, it's my creative HR space because
Mhm,
when I joined, we were a really, really small company. We've now grown, and it's not about, just taking a playbook that you have from another company. It's really about like what is true to us.
right.
What's our mission? What's our vision? How do we want to work with each other and make sure that we hold one another accountable to those standards? So,
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
I mean, I just find it so fun, and I feel very, very lucky to do what I do. Truly.
Yeah. I'm curious, can folks type in the chat, does anyone else here work in a people or an HR role? And if not, is anyone else here a manager? Where sometimes that is a people HR role. Yes to both. All right. Yeah. Cool. So you get it. Also, it makes me so happy when parents are in HR or people or leadership or management roles because you really help set such an important example to team members. Um, okay, this is a big question, and you can feel free
Sure.
to answer it however you would like. Today, I know work is stressful. You took your twins to two doctor's appointments. You're here running this event. Like, how the hell do you do that? But
Yeah,
maybe not even just logistically, but like identity wise. Like, how do you balance these identities?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely not easy, and I don't have all the answers. I think for me, I enjoy both very, very much. So I think it's also like, and we've talked about this before, you know, it's hard making sure you find the time. And again, I work remotely, so I work from home. So even like creating boundaries of, hey, I have my work, like actually shutting my laptop and not letting it stay on and ding and you hear it and it like draws you to it. So really trying to create that divide. And at the same time, there is a reality sometimes, right? Like having grace and giving yourself that grace of like, if I need to finish something, it's okay. It's okay that my kids see that I'm working. Should
Mm,
it be all the time? This is my opinion, by the way,
mhm,
right? But
mhm, mhm,
should it be all the time? No, but I'm not going to feel so guilty if I have to do something. But I really, really try to separate it when I
mhm,
can.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and I think, I talk about my family at work. So I don't like, I think there's like in the past, at least at Coterie, we're very, parent family forward. Like you don't have to have kids to work at Coterie. But if I have to write, like this morning, I said I went to the dentist and the doctor. It was a good 3 hours. Like I put that in the calendar.
Right.
You don't hide it. It's like that's where I am. If you need me, you're gonna know, why I'm not responding. So we have a very open, just like we don't want people to feel that you're hiding it. Talk about your kids,
Mhm.
parents, your partners, etc. Like whatever your life is. And so I feel that I can bring that to work, right? And I don't have to like not share things or,
Mhm.
share something that happened with my kids. So
Mhm.
I think being able to just create that like openness around it is really, really nice. And I haven't always felt that at companies. You
Mm,
might have a boss who doesn't have children or something and they don't want to hear about it.
yeah.
And I've definitely overshared with Frank, my boss sometimes, who does not have children right now. He does want children, but it's kind of funny because sometimes I think as a parent, you go down a path, right, talking about poop or whatever, and
Right.
then you realize, like, what, maybe someone really, really doesn't want to hear about that.
I know,
Um,
you can just see it on the face that
yeah,
where they're reacting, that you've taken it
exactly.
too far or honestly terrified them.
Yes.
This is maybe like too deep of a question for you, but does any part of you ever wish you were just a mom? And does any part of you ever wish you were just a professional who didn't have kids?
Yeah, no. So like I feel so strongly about that. Like I love working very, very much. And I'm very, very satisfied with my job. I think that if I had a role that I didn't love, I would maybe answer
Sure.
this question differently right now.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
for me, I truly love what I do. And I feel like I do have, control over my life.
Yeah.
So I think that helps me. And I love being a mom and I love doing that stuff, but I personally wouldn't want to be home with my children every day, all day. I love the weekends. I love having special time, you know, with my family dynamic, I actually think sometimes like too much of me is a problem, as my husband likes to say. Like, it's like I think it's a good balance for us. So I don't have any personal guilt. I feel like I've been able to set up, special time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually the guilt that I have comes more from the twins, which is a different story of
Yeah.
like spending one-on-one time. Like that's just a
Yeah. Yeah.
different
Yeah.
dynamic.
Right.
But not to answer your question. Yeah, I have a very like strong feeling there of
I appreciate that so much because when you're pregnant, you develop your community of friends, acquaintances, people who suddenly you're very close to because you're pregnant at the same time. And I've seen how each of our relationships to work has changed since becoming moms. I'm curious if
Yep.
this resonates with people. And there's one where if she didn't have to work financially, she absolutely wouldn't. Like, she works as little as possible. She wants to hang out with her daughter all the time. That's all she wants to do. She's an amazing mom, always has amazing ideas, doesn't get tired, doesn't get bored. I have another friend who I think really values her work, but feels constantly guilty and that she's not spending enough time at work or with her daughter. And I think for me, no part of me I can't imagine a version of myself that's home with Gigi all the time. But I do feel bad about that. I do feel that maybe there's something wrong with me. It's like a lot of, people who don't want kids, part of them feels that their biological clock is broken.
Yep.
The fact that I don't feel that pull sometimes makes me feel like there's something wrong with me. So hearing you just own it feels really good to me.
I also think there are different stages with your children. Maybe I'll call out. I'm being honest. Like, I think, when I had George as one, I remember it was really hard to go back to work. And with the twins, I was like, we're very ready. Like, again, your own situation. So I think sometimes that, you're right. Like, my kids are a little bit older too. So I'm just saying, like, different time. Maybe I would feel a little differently a few years ago. My kids are a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But and so that's kind of just, I guess, where I am right now. I'm remote, like we're a remote first company. And so I have an incredible amount of flexibility. I do travel for work when I need to. So I like that. But overall, I really have a lot of flexibility to do the things like if I have to go do a reading at school, and I can pop in, the school's really close, and I can go read a book and then leave. And I satisfy that need and also come home and like can be on a call. So
yeah. Okay. So I'm curious about that. So flexibility, so much research about caregivers in general, whether parents or something else. Flexibility of when and where you work is kind of the name of the game. You all are obviously a company that sells products to parents. And I think I'd asked you this before, but about half of your employees are parents. Not everybody, but a lot of people are in the company, which makes sense. Do you feel any extra burden or responsibility to be a good employer for parents as a company that serves parents?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the word, like, I don't feel the burden. Like, I think it's almost like we just do it. So I don't even think about it, if that makes sense. So it's like, I guess to answer your question, like, yes, we should, but we don't even, like, it's just so natural and genuine how we operate that it's like, there's never there's no pushback. It's just like, oh, we're going to do this. Yes, we're going to do this. So I think like, I don't worry. Like, we have a great leave policy. It's 16 weeks. Doesn't matter. No waiting period. You could start, and we've had people start, and then 2 weeks later they go out on leave. Like, so birthing and non-birthing. We work with this company Maven, and we offer support through them. So like, and some of these things are before I started, by the way. Like, I no credit for them. Like, it's just always the way it's been, and so I just feel like it's so innate. The direction of decisions, like, timing for people, right? There's so many things that can come up. So just being supportive is very natural, and not just to parents. I think like we are this way for everyone. If that makes sense. So it's like, it's our the way we are. It's our energy. It's just kind of in us. So I never have to worry about it. But I do think, ultimately, if for whatever reason something changed, like, it is a bit of our duty to, I'm very much like, when I first came here, it's like, what is this brand about? What is this like? What are we actually selling? And I think part of the appeal to many people internally at the company is our integrity, yes, to the products that we're creating
Mhm.
and we're coming out with, but also internally to the people. Like they
Mm,
should match. Um, and at a smaller company, it's a bit, I should say, easier. At the same time, if it's not always the case. And so
yeah.
for us, our external brand very much matches our internal
Mhm.
brand. And that
Mhm.
makes sense, but it's like
Mhm.
it's the same. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
if we're saying something externally, then how are we treating our team? And
Right.
that's kind of just like again that natural dynamic that comes up.
Did you guys follow the Kite Baby thing? Those of you
Yeah.
that don't know what I'm talking about, Kite Baby, which is a company that sells clothing and blankets for babies. There was this scandal several months ago where the CEO apparently wouldn't allow an adoptive parent to take parental leave while the baby was in the NICU. So I'm just curious, like, how did you guys talk about that internally? How did you guys think about that internally? I assume you talked about it internally.
Yeah, I think for us it was kind of another one of those moments where it's obviously an unfortunate, from a company perspective, from a personal perspective, human perspective for that individual, and definitely obviously that comes out. I think you know from again going back to the integrity, like if we're doing the best thing, then I don't feel, at least at this point, we have to worry about those types of things. Like I'm not losing sleep at night saying, "Oh my gosh," what like.
Right.
So again, I think it's a great example, sadly, of like, sure, think about how you treat people and like
Yeah.
what were the decisions that got there. And,
Yeah.
and I think that it's less about the now for us, but the future, right? Companies change, dynamics
Totally.
change, right? I
People
mean,
change. Yeah.
there's so many factors, but
Mhm.
I really think, it's a moment and we did reflect. It's like, because I think the first question was like, why? Like,
Right.
how could that be? Right.
Right.
That's such a gap from where
Right.
we are. And again, like, right, it's also like there are things we probably don't know fully, but at the same time, it was pretty public. I think there was a lot of information shared. So I think with that, in the court of public opinion, that was a tough one. But
Yeah.
again, like for us,
It would just never
um,
happen.
it just yes,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
I think in any case, we probably we always have erred on the side of, because so many things can happen, and it's about, hey, how do we take care of someone? Like, yes, this is a company, it's a business, so like, and people get that. I think there's a strong level of professionalism that we have, and life happens. Like, people have stuff going on,
Yeah.
and that goes with, sure, leaves or things that come up. There are people that have parents that pass away, or someone passed very close unexpectedly. Like, how do they have to handle that? And
Yeah.
sometimes the dynamics are very, very different. So if you can get that person back on their feet, what is that going to take them? Sometimes it's different for different people. So if you can get them there, like that's going to make them feel wonderful. And again, like it might take some time, but like they're going to come back and be like, what can I do here? Right? Like, how do we
Mhm.
support those people? So
Mhm.
that's been our approach very
Mhm.
much. It's a one size fits one versus a one size fits
Nice.
all. Like we
Yeah.
don't have those types of policies. So it's been a case by case in extreme circumstances, let's say outside of a policy.
And that sounds like good parenting advice as well. I think integrating our identities as a parent and a you know CEO, VP of people, manager, product manager, whatever it is that you are, sometimes challenging. I'm curious, like, are there any tactics or skills or mottos or habits that are in that nice Venn diagram of you as a mom and you as a VP of people?
Sure. The word that's coming to mind is patience.
Yeah, totally.
But truly, like that's what comes to mind. I think there's so many things. Like I'll be reading a children's book and think like, oh, I should like bring this out and talk to these two people about this. Like this lesson is so perfect.
Right.
Um, and I think there's so many things like patience. I'm actually probably better at work than with my kids. So that lesson actually works the other way, even for myself. It's like
Interesting.
taking a minute. I think empathy and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Like this actually goes to my 5.5-year-old. He's 5.5, but sometimes because of the difference in ages, I expect so much of him because I'm
Mm,
like, you are more mature. And then I'm like, wait a minute, you're still 5.5. And I realize that, right? And I
mm,
come back and I'm like, thinking about the situation. So I think empathy as well, especially for people on the team. The biggest thing I think I've learned in my role, just in different experiences, is that everyone has stuff going on in their lives. Like we all do. We have, whether it's family, it's kids, it's whatever, partners. And, it's a weight at times. And so really being open to understanding and thinking about. It's really self-awareness, honestly. Everything goes back to self-awareness, but that's a whole nother Gatheround chat. But it's really being able to say, like, okay, where is that person coming from? How can I think about, like, why are they reacting like this? And really being able to approach situations like that. That's the key to so many things. It's all relationship building. And it's the same thing with your kids, when you're talking to them. So it's actually helpful, I think, having children and then also working as well. for me.
I love it.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Oh, things that I apply the same way. I think what comes to mind for me right now is coaching. Like I believe that Gigi, who's 18 months old, will become an adult who can read and who can identify all of her colors and who can speak words, and who can, all the things that I just assume she's going to grow up to become. And so I just naturally have a growth mindset with her. I don't get frustrated if she says that's purple, but it's blue.
Yeah.
I just support her and coach her and engage her. Oh, no, that's blue, whatever. And so I sort of feel that way as a CEO also. Like, I just can see where I want us to go, or where I think an individual can go, what their potential is. And if I just believe and assume they're going to get there, and it's my job to help coach and support and encourage if that's what they need, and push if that's what they need, and pull if that's what they need. And I don't mean just individuals, but also the team as a unit. It's actually really similar.
Yeah.
Like I would never get frustrated that Gigi can't speak in a full sentence, because she's going to be able to, she just can't right now. And same with the team and the work that we do. I'm not going to get frustrated that we haven't figured X out. I'm just going to assume we're going to, and then it's my job to help get us there in time. So there's this like coaching growth mindset thing that I carry in both. Curious team, if you see that, but there's just like a belief in potential.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.